Hey everybody, Josh for Populi here, and why are we making this video? It covers a lot of ground that we've covered in other videos, so you could probably infer how to do what we're going to talk about today based on those existing resources. But using forms to work with students so you can get their social security numbers entered into Populi, that's incredibly useful. So we wanted to nail this process down for folks and make it easy to see exactly how to execute each step. SSNs generally show up as part of the financial aid process, so we're going to assume that in our instructions here. That means that we're going to use the financial aid role as we work through this. Flyby of the process. 1. Create the form, manage form settings. 2. Build 2 notification types, one that goes to the student to let them know that they have a form to fill out, and one that goes to your staff to let them know that someone has submitted a form response. 3. Add forms to profiles to send form requests. 4. Approve form responses to move the SSN to the student's profile. Let's get right into it. Creating the form is pretty straightforward. From home, click Forms, and then on the right, click Manage Forms. You'll click Add Form and then give the form a title. Then we'll add a field. We're doing the most direct version of this form possible, so we're only adding one length field here. You can add whatever bells and whistles you like. You don't have to create a form that only collects a single bit of info. It could be one field among other pieces of financial aid information. We're going to click the drop down here, and then under the person category, we'll click Social Security Number. We can add a description. It probably makes sense to include instructions, just something like, please enter your 9-digit Social Security number. And we'll probably want this set to required so no one can submit the form without completing this field. Down on the Hold for Review field, this allows you to require an action from your staff. When a response comes in for a field that requires review, staff must accept that field in order for the information to move onto the respondent's profile. And that's what we're choosing here. And you have 2 options here. You can update the linked field when the field is accepted, or you can require the field to be accepted and then for the form to be set to an accepted or completed status. We're going to set this to only require that the field be accepted, but we'll show you more about your options when we look at handling responses. Once we have those set, we can save. That's the form created, but over here on the right, we still need to manage the settings. We're going to set Manage Access by clicking that text. By default, any staff user can access a form created here. You have options here, but we're going to lock this form down so that it's only managed by folks with the financial aid role. So we'll add that role and get rid of the staff role permissions by clicking X. As you can see here, we're going to choose Manage Form and Responses for the financial aid role. Of course, if you need to let other user types handle aspects of this process, you can add them here as well. You can choose varying levels of control. Manage Form and Responses is the most control over the form, and then other combinations of manage and view-only permissions fall out after that. Other settings, let's zero in on login required. If you need some folks who've not yet been granted user access to respond, then you should set this to no. If you'll only be asking folks who have access to Populi to respond on this form, then you can require the login. Respondent permissions can be set to everyone. That just means that anyone to whom you add the form can respond to the form on their own behalf. We don't want the responses to be anonymous because we want them associated with specific user profiles. Response review can be set to review, and that'll serve us just fine. Most of these other fields probably won't be important for this purpose, except that we might want to use categories to sort this form into a group with other financial aid forms. So we'll add that category here. Okay, things look good here. Back up at the top of the settings, we'll set this to publish. Now we can start using the form, adding it to profiles so folks can respond. But we want to notify these respondents, and we also want to notify our staff, so we need to set up notifications. Up on the Notifications tab, click Add Notification. We have a list of events in the dropdown. Any of these can be chosen as a trigger for a notification. But the one that we want here is Form Response Requested. So we'll choose that one. Then the notification will be send an email to primary address. Click Save and you can fill in the details. Because we chose primary address, we can select to send this notification to the primary email address of the person completing the form response. We want a subject that will let folks know that they need to attend to the form. We can use variables from over here to supply pertinent details if we want. We're going to type Populi University request for information. We'll leave it up to you what you think should be included in the body here. You'll probably mention something about the social security number being required in order to complete the financial aid process, etc., etc. The next very important step you'll need to take include the respondent URL variable. If you don't do this, you'll send out a very pleasant email to your respondent, but they won't be able to access the form or do anything. That URL variable creates a link that will let the respondent go directly to the unique response URL, and then you'll later link it to their profile. To include that, I can click down here in the body where I want that URL to show up, and then click on the plus sign, select respondent URL, and that variable pops in. Okay, that's the email that'll go out, complete with a link to the form. Real quick, let's hop over and look at how that email appears to a respondent. There you can see the subject, the body. What more do you want, really? Now we need to create a notification to let the financial aid team at your school know that a response has been submitted. Obviously, we'll choose a different event for this one. This time it's Form Response Submitted, and then we'll select Send an email to a primary address as the notification. Under Recipient, when we click there, we've got those various categories. We don't want every staff member to get notified, so we're going to choose Financial Aid Staff. Obviously, you could add additional groups on your staff, or you could search for a person to add individuals that you want to notify. On the subject line, we'll create that subject using variables to inform you that the respondent name has submitted the form name. Again, the body can say as little or as much as you like. This is an internal email between colleagues, so it makes sense for it to be all business. We'll include the respondent's name here and the internal URL, which will link directly to the response from the email. Okay, that's the email set up and ready to go. Let's have a look at what the financial aid team sees on that email. There's the subject with the variables filled in, and then there's the link to the response within Populi. And there we go, notifications are all set up. Next, we need to add forms to whoever we need a response from. This happens either one by one or in groups. To get an individual response, you'll go to that person's profile on the activity feed, and then over on the right, you'll click Add a Form and select the Social Security number form from the list. Once that's done, that notification we created goes out, letting them know they have a form to complete. We can also do this for groups of profiles all at once in various places in Populi. We'll show you a good place from which to do that. Let's say that I've tagged all of the students who currently need an SSN. If I go to Contacts and then under People, I can click into the filter, and then on the Conditions dropdown, I'll choose Tag and set that to Is and find the tag that I used, and then apply that filter to pull that list. Now I can go over to Actions on the right and choose Add a Form, select the form, and then save that to add the form and notify those respondents. Okay, last step. Once you've added forms to profiles, the ball is in the respondent's court. Your staff will get notified once anyone responds and clicks that link in the email. Or you can go to Forms, then to Manage Forms, click on the form in question, and then into Responses to see any responses that have come in. Now, once you get responses, you or your staff will need to approve them. On the responses, you'll see a redacted SSN. Exactly how redacted depends on your SSN visibility settings. More on that at the end of the video. In the corner of this field here, you'll see the field status. That'll probably be set to submitted. All you have to do is set this to accepted. Once that happens, this SSN will travel through the pipes and the wires to the student's profile. Remember way back when we were creating the form and we had that setting about updating linked fields? One of the options is just when this field is set to accepted, that updates the field on the profile, and the other is when this field is set to accepted and then this form status is set to either completed or accepted, whichever's showing up there. Just a little bit of color there for you. That's the whole process. Let's swing back by those SSN visibility settings that I mentioned. This is only available to Populi account administrators or PAAs. If you click on your initials or your profile pic up here in the right-hand corner, you have the option for not just settings, but for account and settings. That means that you're either a PAA or a billing contact. If you then click on that and are a PAA, you'll see the option for account and then account settings, and then the security tab, and then a sill with the title, SSNs may be seen and edited by, and then checkboxes for various roles. That obviously controls the ability to manage SSNs at the role level. If you make changes there, make sure to click Save Settings up on the right to lock those in. We have lots of other forms-related resources. Check those out down in the description. Do you want to dig deeper and get more value out of Populi for your school? Join our Discord server. It's where Populi users can ask each other questions and capitalize on community knowledge. If you want to become a part of that community, go to Help in Populi and choose Join the User Community. That'll take you to a spot that has instructions about how you can get set up. I've been Josh for Populi. You've been great. Thanks for watching.